Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Gloss of America YouTube channel. Like always, hit like and subscribe, turn on your notifications, and let's get after it. Hi, hello, and welcome to your favorite average good podcast, Call It What You Want. I'm Jimmy Conrad alongside Charlie Davies and Tony Meola, and we have a fantastic show for everyone today. We have a player that's joining us from the U.S. men's national team live from camp before the two friendlies against South Korea and Japan. We're excited about that. His name may or may not be Jack McGlynn. I maybe just spoiled it. Spoiler alert, everybody. And then we're going to talk about transfer news because the window just closed. We have Leagues Cup. We have Luis Suarez out there sharing some of his saliva with some other people from the Seattle Sounders. Congrats to the Sounders for winning the Leagues Cup 3-0. Excellent performance. And then we have our American Striker of the Week. So much to talk about. But first and foremost, Big Tones coming to you first. This is a pretty big lead-up week for the U.S. men's national team going into these two friendlies. And Mauricio Pochettino has basically hinted at, this is the last time I'm going to really tinker a bit. Whether that's true or not, we'll have to wait and see. There's a little bit more pressure, maybe some extra motivation or I don't want to say tension. That feels negative, but just some excitement around this possibility that this could be a now or never for a lot of these guys.
Yeah, look, it's what I got out of his comments. This is like a last audition, right, for a couple of these guys. This is the last time they're going to get a chance, and we're probably talking about some of those fringe players to look Mauricio Pochettino in the eye and say, "Hey, I'm ready for this," right? And we think October camp is going to be the time where he starts just locking down the roster and bringing every single player that he thinks is at least in his first 20 or 20, whatever number he's looking at, 20, 23, 24, 25 players. And there'll be no mystery after that. So, this is an opportunity, right, for players. And we've all been there before. There's always been, you have the biggest story, right, with maybe feeling at this point before the World Cup off the roster. And then before you know it, you find yourself on a World Cup team, right? So, it's an exciting time for these guys.
And Chuck, let's talk about what that looks like from a player perspective, where you're at the team meetings, team dinner, all the team function stuff, and you're probably trying to think, where is my edge, and how do I gain that advantage potentially over another player, even though these are my buddies? It's a really interesting dynamic that maybe we don't explore enough.
Yeah, I mean, I go back to when I was coming into the camp and you're looking at your competition, which is typically all the players that are playing in, for me, the striker position. So you're trying to do everything right, from being at the team meals early to, making sure you're sharp and warm up and passing drills, to then when you're competing in the small sided games and when we open it up to bigger, scoring. Showing out, beating your players 1v1 and competing. And, I remember in those games where it's a lot of the guys who aren't the starters who are kind of competing for playing time, competing for the opportunities to show out, of the B squad within the 23-man roster, of showing, hey, I'm ready to go. And so those are the moments that I remember. If I can separate myself from the other strikers and score more goals and create more in these practice training simulations, that Bob Bradley is going to give me more minutes. And so I think that's what's going into the mind of all these guys right now, is Pochettino's made it clear that he whether or not you think he's experimenting or trialing in this camp, that this is the last time he's not going to bring in all of the top players, quote unquote, in that are playing in Europe. All right. So when you're thinking about Cardoso, you're thinking about McKennie, you're thinking about Tessman, these guys who are playing, they're going to be in camp next week or next month. So for that window, I know I have to not only make the most of this camp, but I have to continue to build up into that next one and think about the teams that are probably not going to be in the playoffs. It's tough. You're going to have a lot of time off.
Yeah, I think what's interesting too, when you're in, well, I was on the bubble when I was with the national team to try to make a World Cup roster, and you just don't know when the coaches are watching you. And what is that one thing that you can do? You don't know what it is, but what is that one thing that you think you can do to kind of help validate their decision to go with you as opposed to somebody else? It could be an intangible, maybe it's something off the field, good leadership, whatever it is, or maybe that's, to your point, Chuck, even in finishing at the end of practice. are you a little bit cleaner than somebody else? Even though you might be joking around and having a good time, but you're still hitting the back of the net, or you're still. It's really interesting, and it could go either way. And Tones, you've been a part of it too, from a coaching perspective as well, where maybe there's that one player like in your mind, like that's why I can't take him. so it can really swing one way or the other, and it's interesting how that works, and just the dynamics of when you're building a team and how you want to build a team. And obviously, Mauricio Pochettino and his staff have been talking about it, and he's been mentioning it in press conferences over the last few months.
Jimmy, I think I've seen, I'm sure you guys have, I've seen so much online about, what is Mauricio doing here? And we've asked some of those questions too, right? But we've got an answer that October is going to be where we're locking down. But I think his goal and his responsibility is to pick the best team. And that doesn't always mean the players you think are best, right? We have a great example in world football over the last year, and that's at PSG, right? Where you take arguably the best player in the world, Luis Enrique says, and he's not good for my team, for what I want to do. And we all kind of thought, okay, how does this happen? Where he now gets them to a point, okay, he brought Kvaratskhelia into PSG, but he picked what he thought was the best team, right? The best group of players for the way that he wants to. And that meant for him, and I'm not comparing players. I don't want to be hit up about, hey, we're comparing this team to Mbappe. No, that's not what it's about. It's about building a team and a roster. You said it. Sometimes some of these things, oddly, are won off the field, right? In the way you approach your business. Go ahead.
The only thing I would add to that, Tony, is just in that scenario where he had to make that hard decision, he knew that Mbappe was leaving. So if you want to say,
I get it. Yeah,
I got a plan for the future, he's already claimed, I'm going to Real Madrid. That was kind of the biggest, the worst kept secret out there. But in terms of making that decision, Tony, you're spot on with a manager going, sure, he makes my team better for the moment, he's an individual, world-class player, but he's not best for my team maybe now or certainly for the future. So well done by.
It must be a little, just in fairness to the whole situation, it must be nice if you're Luis Enrique and you're like, I got Barcola here and Doué, they're coming through and they're going to be pretty good. And by the way, Vitinha and João Neves are pretty, all those guys are sick. And then Ousmane Dembele decides to have his best ever career year. Anyway, we could unlock that a little bit. We have our special guest here. We have our special guest, Chuck.
Yeah, we have a special guest, but there was a great question is, do you have an international example? And I'd say yes. Benzema with France not being a part of it and going with Giroud. And
that's true. That's a great shot.
I think that's a perfect example of, is Benzema a better player, a more complete player than Olivier Giroud? Absolutely. But for France, it was Giroud that made them.
Giroud didn't even score in the World Cup, and they ended up winning it. I mean, that just kind of speaks to how he fit into the puzzle. They didn't need to rely on their number 9 to actually hit the back of the net. They had all the other players to make that happen. All right, let's get to our special guest. 22-year-old playing for the Houston Dynamo, has set a career best in goals this season with 5. He's got 7 assists, which matches his best ever in an MLS season when he played for the Philadelphia Union. I expect him to break that in the last 6 games of this season. He played in all of the Gold Cup games for us this summer. He got called into this camp as well. Really excited to have him on the show. Jack McGlynn, everybody.
Hey, guys. Thank you for having me.
Hey, Jack. I know you're fresh off of a meeting, so I'm sure you got a lot of other things that you're thinking about. We appreciate your time. So obviously a busy summer for you. You're coming into this. What are you doing in this camp in particular, trying to think about coming into these games where you feel like, okay, I need to do X, Y, and Z to make sure that I'm cemented my status with Mauricio Pochettino and this team moving forward?
Yeah, I think for me, just playing with freedom, I think I know the quality I can have, and the coaches know that too. They always tell me they want me playing with freedom no matter what. So just kind of showing my ability both on and off the ball. And I think especially the off the ball stuff that I've been working very hard on to try to make myself a much better player where I can play in multiple roles here. And I think that'll help me with a lot of versatility.
Jack, great to have you, and congrats on getting called in again. You mentioned there are multiple roles. One of the places I wanted to go, we saw you against you started at Turkey. You get a great goal, which is long distance shots, one of your strengths, obviously.
Banger, absolute banger.
But playing as a right winger, which is something that we hadn't seen in your career. I don't know if you had played there before as a younger kid, and how that looks for you, and maybe how maybe differently than a guy that takes players on and gets to the end line all the time? Mauricio maybe asked you to interpret the role.
Yeah, it was definitely different. I'd never played there before, so kind of when I found out I was playing there, it was a bit of a change for me. But I think I liked it. I think it kind of gave me like a different way to look at the game. And I think, yeah, I'm not the kind of guy that's gonna always go one-on-one, take people on with speed. But I think when I cut in on my left, I can make a lot of dangerous passes, whether it's shooting, crossing, playing in behind, or just connecting the game. I think I did that pretty well. So it's definitely different than playing in the middle where I'm used to. But I'm good with either spot.
Jack, I've seen you grow from the Philadelphia Union all the way to where you are now at the Dynamo and the USMNT national team. But I'm curious, where do you think you've grown the most since you've left the Union to now? Obviously, getting a taste of international football with Pochettino and top players, and you're obviously excelling. But where do you think you've grown the most?
Yeah, I think my role is a lot different in Houston than it was in Philly. I'm more of like an inverted 10, so it's different than a left shuttler. So I think pressing wise, like I feel like I've gotten a lot better at that, whether it's getting out to the fullback, making him play long, or just kind of pressing and reading cues on how to press a fullback. I did that a lot differently in Philly than in Houston. So I think I've improved a lot with that. But I think also the game's kind of slowed down for me now. I think whether I'm getting the ball in the pocket or on a half turn, I think I'm able to do that a lot better and pick a final pass out this year than I was in previous years.
Do you think that's helped you like transition with this current team now, with the U.S. men's national team being in that role?
For sure. Yeah, I think there's a lot of pressure on me at Houston to make things happen. I'm like the playmaker for our team. So I think as a young guy, that's good for me to have that responsibility. And I think that's slowed the game down a lot for me, especially coming to the international level where it's so much quicker.
Yeah, I was going to kind of piggyback off of what Chuck asked. Two of my former World Cup teammates are your coaches over in Houston with Ben Olsen and Josh Wolf. Is there any insights that you're getting from them specifically about how to have success at the international level, given their own international experience?
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of cues that they're always giving me, whether it's on or off the field, just always they want me to be positional, kind of be patient. I'm a guy who always wants the ball, so I kind of look to get on it wherever, but they want me to kind of stay positional. They know that players, especially here at the international level, have quality to play through the lines and find me, whether I'm playing higher or as a deeper playmaker. So it's kind of always finding that spot where I'm not pushing myself out of position to get the ball. That's what they've kind of taught me.
Jimmy mentioned that you're having statistically your best year, right? And his expectations that all of ours is that it'll get better from here. But do you put like a number on this thing? Like, hey, I need to be here. If I'm going to be a playmaker, that means I need to be involved in goals somehow, some way, right? Is there a number in your head maybe that you say, okay, this is where I got to reach every year?
Yeah, I think going into the year, I thought I would be playing deeper. So it wasn't really like my main thing was scoring and assisting, but now that I'm higher, I think probably 15 is a reasonable number for a playmaker. I think that'll be good enough. We're obviously making a playoff push, so I need to contribute a lot more than it was before. But I think there's been some games where I could definitely contribute more. But I think this year it's been good for me. But I know there's a lot more to come.
Jack, the stat that stands out to me the most is your key passes, which means you anticipate your vision's been spot on and you're able to execute. And whether that player does something with it or not, I think that's where you've really grown. But I'm curious, in terms of MLS, right? The league is, you've seen it continue to get better and more competitive, but where is your heart set on your next step? Do you want to go to Europe? Do you want to see how far you can go and the highest level you can play? And of course, I'm sure you've talked to Paxten, you've talked to Bedoya, some of the guys that have played in Europe. Where is your heart in terms of Europe versus MLS?
Yeah, of course. I want to go to Europe eventually and test myself and play at the highest level I can. I think I have the quality to do so, and I want to play as far as that can take me. But yeah, obviously focused on Houston now. I did resign there, so I'm focused on what the next couple of years there, just kind of keep developing, being the guy there, being the guy that will lead us. But yeah, I want to take myself to Europe and see how far I can get there.
All right, Jack, we got a question from one of our commenters, from Adam G. He says, how did Jack feel about playing with so many attacking midfielders at the Gold Cup? Because Malik, Diego Luna, Malik Tillman, that is, you guys all want to kind of occupy the same space so that you can turn and run at the back fours.
Yeah, I think it worked out well. I think in the games that we played together, we combined well. I think we created a good amount of chances between each other. And I think, yeah, we all wanted to be in the same space, but I think we weren't really ever in it. Whether I was wider, Malik was central, and Diego was wider on the other side, we weren't really. And we had a good rotation. Like there was freedom that we were playing with. So I think it worked out well for us.
Jack, what needs? I'm following up on Charlie's question about where you think your game improved. What needs to still get better for you to be part of this group? June of 2026?
Yeah, I think for me, the number one thing I would want to improve is consistency. I think some games I feel like I'm creating a lot of chances, and some games I feel like I have to do way more for my team. So I think I want to take that on my shoulders and be a leader at the club level and kind of take that to here where I'm contributing every match, whether it's on or off the ball, making plays defensively and offensively, creating for us.
All right, Chuck, I'm going to jump in here because
go ahead.
Jack, we've had a big conversation here on the show here. Call it what you want. And we had one of your pals, Paxten Aronson.
Oh, I've heard this.
Oh, you've heard it. He's heard it, everybody. Who's faster, Jack McGlynn or Charlie Davies? That's the big conversation. But before
Jack,
we get
this is an important answer, Jack.
Don't answer it yet. Don't answer it yet. Let's hear what Paxten Aronson had to say. Claiming forever that he could beat Jack McGlynn in a 30-yard race. and so given that you spent the summer with Jack McGlynn, who do you think would win in a race between Charlie Davies?
We're talking 20 yards. 20 yards.
Yeah, I'm giving it to Charlie. I always Jack's my best friend. He'll probably send me to this later. And he knows every time I rip on him, I tell him how slow he is. I think he has gotten faster. I think he's been doing some speed drills or whatnot. When I first came into the league with him when we were 16, it was so funny. Everybody in the locker room would just tell him how slow he is. But he makes up, like you said, he makes up for it with other attributes.
All right, Jack McGlynn, it's your turn. What do you say?
First of all, I'm gonna have to take back the best friend title from him. He's number 2 now for sure. Yeah, I'm backing myself. Of course, I'm confident. I'm backing myself. I know I'm not the quickest, but I think I got it in me.
Hey, Jack, I think I just look. You guys play Colorado, right? In about 10 days' time. Okay, I'll be watching that one, Chuck. See if Jack gets a little piece of.
I'll be watching that.
Good.
Oh, look at we got a photo here of Jack and Chuck.
I don't think it's going to be this close. I think Jack's man.
I might. Hey, I tell you, I'm giving my all. I might pull a hammy in the process, but I'm going in. I'm going in.
So Jack, just
the
so you know,
hammy will be done after 10 yards. Don't worry about it.
Jack, it started at 40 yards. Then, as you saw there, Chuck made it 30. Then
it's going down.
It's going down. All right. We really appreciate your time once again, Jack. We're obviously thrilled for you to be called into this camp. We hope you play well. One of the things we like to do here at the show is to have a jersey swap story. So we don't know if you have a good one that somebody you've switched with, you got a good story behind it, or maybe somebody waved you off. That's happened to me. I don't really want to bring it up. I'm looking at you, Raquelme. Not very cool. But Jack, is there any good jersey swap stories you got for us?
I think my favorite is when I was in USL, I played against my brother, which is really cool. I don't think that happens very often. So I swapped with him, and I think that was probably my proudest moment, like for our family, playing against my brother in a pro game. It's a really cool thing. My whole family was there. So that's probably my number one.
Man, the Aronsons and the McGlynns, they're both swapping. It's crazy.
Yeah, and that's why you guys are best friends, probably. You got brothers that play.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. We love it. Well, Jack McGlynn, thank you again for your time. You're an absolute beast. We wish you the best of luck. And, we'll see how these games go. And hopefully you'll be called into future camps. All right, Jack McGlynn, everyone, and good luck in the playoffs. Houston Dynamo got some work to do.
Yes, sir. We'll get there.
All right, awesome. Jack McGlynn, everybody. That was great. Cheers, Jack.
He backed himself, man. He backed himself. I like it. I like it.
He did. I like his confidence. I like the confidence.
Before, how could you not back yourself? You're currently with the U.S. men's national team. We're talking to a 39-year-old who retired ages ago. You better back yourself.
Yeah. He did. He backed himself. He said he beat you in your 10-yard dash.
I feel like this has to happen at some point. I actually want to bring this to fruition. We need to, maybe when the Houston Dynamo finish their run in MLS this season, and maybe at MLS, we got to figure out a way to get this happening in real life. This would be.
I agree.
I don't know. We just crushed a friendship. I'm sure we can do this. We can get this done. What a good kid, man.
Great kid.
Yeah.
Great kid.
I'm curious to see though how many minutes he gets in these two games. And how much trust he's going to get. I mean, he's clearly gotten trusted by Mauricio Pochettino over the last Nations League, right? We brought him on. We're down a goal to Panama. He gets brought on. He started the first 2 games of the Gold Cup and then was a sub for the last 4 games in the last 4.
There's 2 spots for 4 guys, right? So Adams is a lock at the 6, right? And then you're talking about the other two midfield positions between Berhalter, De La Torre, Zawadzki, right? And Jack. So it's 4 players for 2 spots.
He's going to get some minutes. Obviously,
don't you want to see him outside of that winger spot, Jimmy? Don't you want to see him like in his true spot? I great kid. I love watching him play. I just don't see him as one of our wingers with the group that we have.
No, I'd want him centrally for sure.
Right.
I mean, he's got a magic wand of a left foot. It's just a matter, can he create the space to use that in a meaningful way?
Right.
Ultimately, that's going to be the crux of the conversation. But yeah, very excited that he came on the show, and it's rare for us to get someone that's in camp or a player that's in camp, especially ahead of.
So well done. Shout out to Ivis, because
Ivis
editing and getting our players.
Oh man, and locking all that in. It's been fantastic. All right, we're gonna take our first break of Call It What You Want. When we come back, we're going to get into some transfer news because one Yunus Musah made a big move from AC Milan. Where did he end up? You probably already know, but I'm going to wait to make that a bit of a tease. And then we'll get into our American Striker of the Week, get into Leagues Cup. It's all a lot of action to get into, so don't go anywhere.
You can't count on Derek's tongue skills.
Oh, Tony, I think it hit the ground.
But you can always count on Sundays with the NFL on CBS and Paramount+.
Welcome back to Call It What You Want. I'm Conrad Dino alongside Big Tones and Chuck Wagon. Check chasing Chuck Wagon, that is. I should make that clear. Okay.
Chasing, let's go.
Check chasing Chuck.
Come on.
All right, so transfer news. Yunus Musah making the move from AC Milan to Atalanta, and the 22-year-old is going to Atalanta on loan with an option to buy. And Atalanta's in a little bit, I'll just give you some context. Atalanta's in a bit of a transition period, in my humble opinion, after Giampiero Gasperini left for Roma. Gasperini led them to tremendous success, always punched above their weight, famously won the Europa League over the undefeated at that time Bayer Leverkusen in the final 3-0. That's when Ademola Lookman scored a hat-trick. Excellent performance. Gasperini, I think, is a fantastic manager. Now, Ivan Juric is there, and Juric is a disciple of Gasperini, plays very similarly, 3-4-2-1. And clearly, I think they're going to see Yunus Musah as a wingback, to be honest. I don't know if they're going to play him central or not, but we'll have to wait and see. Musah joined Milan. Maybe. Joined. Yeah, that's true. He can maybe pinch inside. Musah joined Milan 2 years ago, made 80 appearances in all competitions, 0 goals, 5 assists, played in 40 times in all competitions last year, including 7 appearances in the Champions League. I think Rabiot coming in from Marseille to Milan probably didn't help his future. It already looked like he was on the way out, but Maxi Allegri now has someone that he's coached before at Juventus. So do you like this move? Ultimately, I'm excited for him to at least be wanted by someone. And if they're going to be paying that type of money, then well, I guess it's an option to buy. So nothing's confirmed just yet, but they clearly see some value in him. Chuck, I'll come to you first.
Yeah, this is one of those moves where I love that he moved away from Milan because that wasn't the right spot. I think, Tony, you knew it spot on that he was never going to be that player to come in and get consistent minutes and starts to help him for the 2026 World Cup. So he had to make a move. Now, the issue I have with this move, too, at the same time is, okay, he makes a move. He had to make a move. It's not quite Matt Turner where you're going from third string to backup at Crystal Palace. You're never going to play because you're a keeper. But it is more or less like the same where you are 4th, 5th, 6th choice at Milan and you're going to Atalanta. And at the moment, you're going in as 3rd, 4th choice.
Right.
And out of 2 spots, right? Because they're playing typically with Ederson and Darun, or Ederson and Pasalic, and Ederson's hurt. So now you're going with, okay, Pasalic and Darun. So now you're coming in as that 3rd or 4th option for those 2 spots.
Yeah.
And then, and like you said, if you do go and play in that right wing back spot, you're still 2nd option. So will he get playing time? Yes, just through natural rotation. But he's got to do a lot of work to get into that lineup and to keep it.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Resident AC Milan fan, Tony Meola. How do you feel about the loss of Musah? Do you think this is a good move for him? Do you think Maxi Allegri should have kept him? Clearly started him this past weekend. Gave him a little love tap there on the sideline.
I don't know about that. That
okay.
looked
maybe more than a love tap. But
yeah.
But do you think they started him and played him the full 90 because to put him in the shop window to kind of show Atalanta that this guy's healthy and ready to go?
Well, if you're ready to potentially drop 30 plus million in your Atalanta, I hope you knew before Sunday,
Right.
or that game was Friday actually. You knew before Friday whether you liked him or not. I'm with Charlie though. I don't know where he's going to play in this group. Even if he plays wide, you got Belanova, Zalewski just comes in. Derun is the captain of the team. Pasalic has been probably one of the most underrated eights. A poor year last year, but the year before, we were talking about him as potentially team of the season. And then ahead of them, De Ketelaere, who is a lockdown player for them, and the young Maldini. So where does he play here?
There.
Where does he
plays?
Maybe in Maldini's spot, but they like Maldini, right? So we're assuming he's going to get some time. Look, in Italy, I say this all the time. If you're willing to even think about spending that much money, you're thinking about playing him. I'm just wondering where he's going to play in this group. And Ivan Juric, if you remember his time, right, from Roma to Southampton, he might be a disciple of Gasperini, but he doesn't attack. His teams don't attack like Gasperini's, right? And he's already under a little bit of pressure. So I mean, it's tough right now. It's tough for them.
He's got that Ten Hag vibe right now.
Yeah, well,
he passed him now. 2 games, right? He's going to get the third game. He's way past him now. He's going to get the third game.
Well, Atalanta tied with Pisa, who just got promoted. That was 1-1 in the first game of the Serie A season. Tied 1-1 with Parma this past weekend. They got Lecce. Then they play Paris Saint-Germain, PSG, in Paris for the Champions League midweek next week. So, I don't know how long Ivan Juric will be there, but we'll have to wait and see. I agree with you. I don't know necessarily where he fits, but it's crazy to think Yunus Musah is still only 22 years old. It blows my mind. And even Daniele Maldini, who we're talking about, he's 23. So he'd still be kind of a younger option, and maybe they see him because he'd be playing in multiple competitions. It could be minutes.
But Derun is 34, right? So I know he is the captain, but he's 34. Ederson knee problem. Yeah.
Right.
Just throwing it out there.
No. I think that's important because there are going to be a lot of minutes out there. Okay, another transfer that just hit our radar this morning. Cremaschi from Inter Miami, the 20-year-old joins Parma through June 2026. The Serie A side will have an option to purchase him for a reported $5 million. Now, Cremaschi signed as a homegrown player for Inter Miami ahead of the 2023 season, and he's made 107 appearances in all competitions for Inter Miami, tallying 8 goals and having 9 assists. He's got 3 caps with the U.S. men's national team. He most recently played in both of the team's January friendlies earlier this year. He is expected to play a pretty prominent role for the U.S. at the upcoming U20 World Cup, which kicks off later this month in Chi-Chi-Chi, Le. This season alone, Cremaschi started 16 of Inter Miami's 25 league matches this season, playing a variety of positions. Big Tones, he actually came out and said he didn't know what position he was going to play. I think with Rodrigo de Paul getting signed, that was going to limit his minutes for sure. But he did make some comments after a game. We all got us scratching our head a little bit.
Yeah, he made those comments after, if you remember, Jordi Alba was hurt, and then he went to the game and he was starting as a left back, where he said he goes to the stadium and doesn't know where he's going to play. And of course, when you have Javier Mascherano telling you when he went to Barcelona, he wanted to be a central midfielder, but they told him, no, you're going to play over here as a center back. And he's, you got to play where you want to play. So Mascherano wasn't happy with him, but we've been waiting for Cremaschi to really hit the heights we thought he was going to hit 2 years ago. And I don't think we've seen it, only because I think he's been in a club where they've just rotated players in and out. And we thought he was going to be a central midfielder. We thought he'd be a guy that might play in that inside pocket. They brought players in those areas over the last 2 years. Some are already out the door, i.e. like a Redondo at the club. So the young kid never really got a chance to play, but you got somebody, again, that's willing to potentially, lay down $5 million for the kid. And I know it's not the biggest transfer in the world, but the reality is he hasn't played all that much when you look at it it's 108 games, but how many of those were starts in 90 minutes? It doesn't happen a lot for him.
Yeah.
And now I think Italy's going to suit him well. He's a good passer of the ball. He's got some bite to his game. He gets around the ball. He's willing to tackle people. His soccer IQ will be tested every day because we know it's a tactical league. He's going to be with, I think, the youngest manager, right, in Serie A, which generally means high tempo. They're a counterattacking team in general. So hopefully this is a good move for him.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how he performs, and just another move for an American this summer. Let's get into some notable summer moves for our Americans abroad. Some big names. Malik Tillman coming from PSV to Bayer Leverkusen for $41 million. And Malik Tillman scored his first goal, Bundesliga debut this past weekend versus Werder Bremen. Now, as you mentioned, Erik ten Hag, we should bring it up for those that don't know. Erik ten Hag took over for Xabi Alonso, Bayer Leverkusen. They gave up the lead. By the way, they're up 3-1, and they had a man advantage. This is Bayer Leverkusen this past weekend, and they gave up that 2-goal lead to tie 3-3. Erik ten Hag got sacked afterwards. So Malik Tillman only got to play one real official game with his new manager. They have yet to name a replacement, so we'll keep our eyes on that and how it impacts Tillman in particular. Johnny Cardoso from Real Betis to Atletico Madrid for $28 million. Damian Downs goes to from FC Cologne into Southampton. Matt Turner from Nottingham Forest to the New England Revolution, or Olympic Lyon, and then to New England Revolution. Paxten Aronson, Frankfurt to Colorado Rapids. Ajiman from Charlotte into Derby. Gio Reyna, Dortmund to the other Borussia Mönchengladbach. Yunus Musah, we just talked about him. Milan to Atalanta. George Campbell went from Montreal to West Brom. Tim Weah from Juventus to he's on loan from Juve with $16 million obligation to buy for Marseille. That's a lot of movement, guys. And so I guess the conversation piece here is what's your favorite transfer of those? And then what's the one that maybe you're like, I'm going to have to wait and see how I feel about that transfer until we have some time that passes. Tones, I'll come to you first. Who's your favorite transfer? What's the one that you're most excited about?
The one I think my favorite transfer here is the Matt Turner move, where he finally finds a place to play. Now, it's not ideal because he didn't stay in Europe. I get that part, but the fact that our goalkeeping position is so much up in the air, what I at a minimum want to see is the guys that are being considered for the national team, that they're playing week in and week out. Right? I don't want to have to consider somebody who's not playing, i.e. Matt Turner, because he's played in 2022 World Cup. So this at least gives him the chance now to play, get a rhythm underneath him. And as I've said all along, I think that Matt Turner will have a say in the end on who the starting goalkeeper is at the World Cup. He wouldn't have been able to do that, Jimmy and Chuck, in my opinion, if he stayed in a situation like he's been in for the last 2 years or so.
Okay. I like that one. Chuck, I'm going to go next. I like Johnny Cardoso. Yeah. I like him going to Atletico Madrid. I think that's a really big deal. He's already getting trusted by Cholo Simeone, the manager who let go basically of Rodrigo de Paul so that Johnny Cardoso could come in and start in the engine room in the middle of midfield for Atleti. I mean, that is ridiculous. That blows my mind. And what's crazy is that Johnny is only 18 months removed from playing in Brazil. He made the move to Betis and did well there, and now he's starting in the middle of midfield for Cholo Simeone. That's
how quick it can go.
It's crazy. I mean, is that the first time that an American player is coming to replace a World Cup winner? It feels like it might be. What I also love is that Simeone said this about him. Johnny's a player who brings balance and energy to our midfield, which is evidenced by his 2 yellow cards in the first 3 games of the season. His defensive capabilities and tactical understanding are qualities we value highly. So I love that about Simeone and trusting Johnny in this way. Unfortunately, for all you Atleti supporters out there, I'm looking at you, Des. Producer Des is a huge Atleti fan. 3 games into the season, 3 games against teams that probably will finish in the bottom half of the table, Espanyol, Elche, and Alaves. Possible 9 points. They've gotten 2. They've had the lead in all 3 of those games and haven't held on to the lead in any of those. So an auspicious start for Johnny and Atleti overall, but honestly thrilled for him, and I'm really excited to see how he continues to progress under Diego Simeone, one of the best defensive, I think, masterminds in the world. All right, Chuck, so I want you to do both because I think you might be talking about the same player. I don't know. You teased us a little bit on it. Your favorite transfer and the one that maybe gives you a little bit of concern, you want to see more time.
Yes, and Tim Howard replaced Fabian Barthez at Man United just as a World Cup winning
good shout. Player. Nice one. Yeah. You're ready for me, Chuck. I appreciate it.
By the way, he also won the Premier League that season, which is pretty impressive as a starting goalkeeper for Man United. Even though they moved on from him and he went to Everton, he was a starting goalkeeper and they won the Prem,
Good
replacing
shout.
the World Cup winner. But for me, I've already said it. I think Yunus Musah leaving AC Milan. I think Milan was a really difficult place for him to. I think he was already tagged with the utility player tag, and it's hard to move on from that when you're kind of you're always going to be looked at as the tape. Oh, he can always fill in. He's a good rotational player, not really one position that we expect him to excel at. So he moves to Atalanta. So I'm excited he moved. The problem now is, will he carve out one specific position for him,
right,
or will he just be another version of that Scotch tape utility player at Atalanta? That's the concern. So I'm excited about it, but it's also a concern for me. My question I was going to flip to you guys: which player stands the most to benefit with this transfer? Not so much, hey man, this is exciting, I love it the most. Which player do you think actually his stock could rise the most with this transfer?
Tones, I can go first if you
Go
want.
ahead. Yeah.
I'm going to say Gio Reyna. That's the one that I'm the most excited to see how it plays out, and I think his stock could rise if he can go into Borussia Mönchengladbach and be the guy. Right now, Mönchengladbach have played 2 games in the Bundesliga, have yet to score. That's great news for Gio Reyna. He wasn't involved in the 18 this past weekend, but if he can get into the team and potentially replace Kevin Stoger, who's 32 years old, they play a 4-1-4-1. Obviously, that can change and be fluid in the middle of the game, and I expect it to. But that'd be a nice spot for him. He works off of kind of one of the 10s right underneath the striker and can connect out wide. So Gio Reyna getting into that team and putting his stamp on things. I actually think he has the most to gain there, though, because he can finally get back into it. But go ahead, Chuck.
So what would his numbers have to be for you to say, man, that paid off, and now his stock is through the roof? Like, is it 10 goals, 10 assists? Is it 20 goal contributions?
I'll sign up for 10 goals, 10 assists, but I think that might be a little bit. That's asking, for a team that Mönchengladbach that I don't think scores very much in general, and I don't expect them to score a ton of goals this year.
Yeah.
If he could get in just like Jack said, if he can get into the 15 goal contributions. Now, if he gets there, that means he's playing a lot. So I would love for that to happen. If he could be the one that steps up and is the guy on set pieces, and really be the one that they trust to make things happen, man, that is talking about stock that we're talking about maximizing potential. I think where my concerns are is, will he actually do it? And so I hope he gets trusted. I hope he gets the minutes, but he's got to have to really take on a responsibility that maybe he hasn't had to in the past, right? Where he could be someone that's, ended up being a spot starter and didn't get that trust. So there's a lot to unpack there, because I think if he can demonstrate that with Mönchengladbach, then obviously any coach of the national team, Mauricio Pochettino, anybody else, will be like, oh, okay, I can see how he can now fit into our puzzle in a really meaningful way. And I think his player profile would be a nice match with whoever. So he's just got to get on the field. And he mentioned as much. He had an interview with some of our friends, Herc Gomez in particular, and said basically he knows that he's got to play more if he's going to get back into the national team mix. I'm paraphrasing, but that's ultimately what he said. And so he knows what he's got to do. Now he's just got to go out there and do it. How about you, Big Tones?
Yeah, I was going to go, Gio. I'm going to just throw a wild card at you, because I keep getting messages from my West Brom buddy who follows his team and writes for them. He keeps talking about how good George Campbell's doing at West Brom. And when you talk about upside, they only paid $1.5 million for him. And this is the team that early days is fighting for promotion. They didn't make the playoffs last year. They thought they were going to be at least a playoff team. So let's just keep an eye out on him, because he's becoming a gem there for West Brom. And it was a move I don't think any of us saw coming. We did see him in national team camp. Didn't have a great national team camp, but maybe a move like this just gives you confidence, and you're playing week in and week out. You're being counted on. And who knows, we might find West Brom back in the Premier League next year, and George Campbell as a center back. Could turn out completely opposite way, but I'm just throwing it out as a wild card.
No, I love that. That's a great shout, and he hasn't been on our radar in some ways. I don't know if we'll see him for 2026, but obviously,
maybe not
moving forward. But sometimes you have to have that league, right? And we both know it, or all of us know it. And Chuck, you've obviously played in a couple leagues around the world where you find the one that really speaks to you and really fits how you're going to have success. So maybe George Campbell at age 24, right? He's a young center back, so he's got plenty of time.
Jimmy,
I didn't really figure it all out until I was about 27, 28.
I will throw this ad out to you about my buddy. I tell you, he's big West Brom fan. All he keeps talking about is his ability to win duels, and he mentions every week to me how good he is with the ball. Now, I'll be completely honest. I've seen him play a dozen times. I never really came out going, he's really good with the ball. Having said that, I never really came out of it going, oh, he killed his team with the ball, right? Right. I just didn't know enough about it. I don't know if you guys did or not, but but he keeps mentioning the fact that he is like the starts just about everything from the back, really, really good with the ball. So now I got to pay more attention to it. I mean, we were watching it every week now. I've seen him play a couple times. He's been pretty solid. I don't follow West Brom nearly as much as my buddy, so I thought it was interesting that that's the comment that he brings up all the time.
All right. Duly noted. We'll have to get your friend on the show. This is like George Campbell hour here on Call if you want.
Oh, he would love to come on. He comes on my radio show. He runs a game game we play with Picking the League every year, but he writes for West Brom, so he's really tuned in.
Gotta love Matt Osman here. Q Charlie saying the championship sucks.
All right. We're gonna take our last break. When we come back, we're going to get into our American Striker of the Week with our favorite American striker, Charlie Davies. So keep it right here.
The clock never stops. Relive the greatest moments with uninterrupted highlights and more.
It's Gareth Bale!
Wonderful goal! On the UEFA Champions League channel. Streaming free.
Okay, it is time for our favorite segment here, favorite news segment, American Striker of the Week. Now, here are some notable weekend performances, and then we're going to throw it over to our very own Charlie Chasing Chuckwagon Davies to pick the number or the winner here. So we got Folarin Balogun, started, played 90 minutes, and scored for Monaco in their 3-2 win over Strasbourg, which that was a really good game, by the way. Minamino had to score in the 90-plus minute to win that one. Josh Sargent got a brace. Okay, he scored in his 5th straight match in a 2-0 win away from home against Blackburn. Haji Wright scored in his 3rd straight match in a 2-2 draw versus Augsburg. He hit it off the crossbar in the 90th minute. That would have won it 3-2. So I don't know if that knocks him for you, Chuck. Damien Downs subbed on in the 76th minute in a 2-2 draw versus Watford. No real contribution there. Ricardo Pepi, though, good news, played in the second half in PSV's surprising 2-0 defeat to Telstar. That's just good news in general to get him back on the field, getting those minutes, getting as sharp as he possibly can here for the immediate future. Chuck, who are you going with this week? Sargent gets a brace. Are you going somewhere else? What are we saying?
I'm going somewhere else.
Okay, what do we got?
We're going Folarin Balogun.
Okay, all right. American Striker of the Week.
He's back in on the field, back-to-back matches, 89 minutes or more. He got his goal. Against Strasbourg, he got around, I think, 39 touches or so. And what I like, 4 shots in the game. What I love most about Balogun is that he's back and
he looked really sharp.
He's getting in the flow of things. Remember, it was a shoulder injury, surgery that has kind of prohibited him from getting back out there and moving. So I love the fact that he's finally getting into a rhythm. Now, Pochettino originally didn't call him in, and he wasn't even going to be the replacement if Brian White didn't get injured. So again, we're talking about contradiction, and the contradiction is Pochettino wanted to keep the guys who had made moves or some of the guys in Europe who aren't playing in Europe to kind of get into a rhythm. And I understand the fact that, hey, for some of these guys, keep them where they are so they don't have to travel and let them just keep building their match fitness or sharpness and being within their setup there respectively. So even if other players are moving away for international break, at least they're there. Let them get settled, build their match fitness up, because MLS guys, they're mid-season form, coming into the most important part of the season for Major League Soccer. But Balogun in camp with Pochettino, I love that he is going in confident and finally match fit.
If anybody is a soccer nerd like us three, if you go to you just go watch the highlights of the Monaco game. But I got to watch a good portion of it, and he was so sharp Flo Balogun was so good in the little details of the game. He's the one that pressured the goalkeeper that led to the first goal for Monaco. He was doing a lot of the thankless work to either create space for himself or for some of his teammates. I thought he was excellent, and long may that continue. He's got keep that up for another 5 years. We'd really appreciate that. But I think the biggest sign of how well he's been playing is that they sold Briel Mbolo, who was their striker last year. Just to give everybody some context, Briel Mbolo played in 42 games for Monaco last year. He had 7 goals and 9 assists. Okay, he started all 10 of the Champions League games. He had a goal and 3 assists in those. He had big goals against Nice and Marseille, and they finished in 3rd last year, Monaco. Okay, he was a big reason why. He was the one. Obviously, Balogun was hurt, and so they had to rely on other players, and Mbolo stepped up. They elected to sell that guy. And Balogun's wearing the number 9 shirt. He's the guy for Adi Hütter. And I think that's a really big sign that if you're going to give up a guy that scored that many goals for you, had that many goal contributions, and you know the Balogun, I just feel like there's a trust there from Adi Hütter, his manager. Like, okay, Briel Mbolo is now excessive for us now. And that's massive. If Briel Mbolo was still there, I'd still be I'd be scratching my chin a little bit going, if Balogun doesn't play well for one game, maybe Mbolo comes back in or whatever it is. So I'm glad that is kind of gone. Yeah, and now he can go on and really thrive, right? He can thrive. Yeah.
He's the main guy from Monaco with Biarritz, and I love the fact that they've played together at Arsenal in the younger days. So there's just that familiarity. But more importantly, we've already seen Balogun have success in Liga, and he scored 20 plus goals. Now he's with a bigger club. He's playing Champions League. This is an important season for him and very important for the U.S. men's national team. If Balogun is healthy and playing, he is a starter for the U.S. men's national team.
Yeah.
It's that easy. So I'm happy that he's out there looking good and obviously ready for the U.S. men's national team with Pochettino.
Yeah. Now Pochettino, Big Tones, has a decision to make because Josh Sargent is red hot too. Maybe there's a world you could get them both on the field at the same time, but I doubt it. So if you're Pochettino and you're looking at these performances, who are you going with?
But don't you we all assume Balogun is going to be the guy, right? Come the World Cup. Best case scenario for Mauricio Pochettino is he has 4 or 5 guys underneath Balogun or Ricardo Pepi that are scoring goals, whether it's Josh Sargent or Haji Wright or Damian Downs, who's struggling for minutes right now, or somebody else, right? What do you want out of your second and third forwards if you take that many straight number 9s on a national team for a World Cup? You want guys that are hitting the back of the net, right? Yeah. You want guys that if you ask them to go in the last 15 minutes of a game, you're putting them in for one reason, because you think you're going to get a goal out of them, right? And if you got guys that are playing in any club that aren't scoring goals anywhere, then you look down the bench and you're not nearly as confident. So if Josh Sargent, let's just assume for a minute that it's Balogun and Pepi, and he's got to go to another guy in a game, you look down the bench and we're projecting, right, to June of 26, and you got a guy that just scored 20 goals in the league. I don't care what league you're playing in. I don't care what you think of the leagues. You're like, okay, I feel confident. This guy feels good about himself. So that's best case scenario for Pochettino. And I say Pochettino, this is all of us, right? Like we're fans of the team. It's best case scenario for everybody.
Yeah, it's a good problem to have. I absolutely love it. Okay, so pivoting from our American Striker of the Week, congratulations again, Folarin Balogun. Your award is in the mail. Don't worry.
No, we got to get an award, and when you announce this, there's got to be like a game show jingle that plays.
We have to figure that out.
Yeah, we got to figure all this out. Yeah, something.
All right, so the Champions League is now upon us. The draw just happened. We have quite a few Americans contributing or playing or participating in this competition this upcoming season. Malik Tillman with Bayer Leverkusen, Ricardo Pepi and Serginho Dest at PSV, Weston McKennie at Juve, Timothy Weah at Marseille, Folarin Balogun at Monaco, Cole Campbell, Borussia Dortmund. We'll see if we can get into some games. Got to give a shout out to Timothy Chandler and Eintracht Frankfurt, Yunus Musah with Atalanta, and Diego Cochin with Barcelona. Here's some notable matchups, though, for these players. And I just wanted to get this out here. We'll get into more of a breakdown before match day 1 in a couple weeks. But you have Johnny Cardoso going to Liverpool, going to Anfield on September 17th. That's going to be a fun one to watch. You got Yunus Musah going to Paris to take on PSG coming out of the international break. Bayer Leverkusen a couple weeks later will host PSV. So Tillman will have some revenge, and he'll obviously get to play against Dest and Pepi.
Revenge? What do you mean revenge?
Okay, not revenge.
He's just playing against his old squad. So he's playing against Dest. Dest versus Tillman. Here we go.
Okay, sorry. I shouldn't have said revenge. It just made it more dramatic that way. Marseille Atalanta. So you got Tim Weah versus Musah in that one. Man City and Bayer Leverkusen. So seeing Tillman play at the Etihad should be very cool. Real Madrid and Monaco. So seeing Flo Balogun at the Bernabeu is going to be sweet. Monaco Juve is going to be a great one. And then PSV Bayern Munich. So a lot of big matchups for everybody to circle on their calendars as the Champions League kicks off here very soon in the next couple of weeks. So we'll obviously get you all previewed for that as it gets a little bit closer. And we'll also, obviously, in the next show, we'll preview our starting 11 for what we're going to see in that first game against South Korea for the U.S. We'll do a deeper dive, of course, into that. But I really want to get into the Seattle Sounders Leagues Cup final, beating Inter Miami 3-0. And listen, Big Tones, you've been on it since day one. You think that Brian Schmetzer is the most underrated manager maybe ever in American soccer on the men's side, of course. And he proves it once again. This is his fourth trophy with the club. And even though he didn't have all of his stars available, he still found a way to get a result against a team that is full of stars. We'll get into the end of the game afterwards, but let's talk about the game itself and the Seattle Sounders just having that magic formula to always be competitive in multiple competitions. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, underrated, no doubt, for Brian Schmetzer. I think I don't want to have recency bias. I think I still might put Bob Gansler as the most underrated for what he did. On that. Yeah. But I don't care if you want. I'm kind of splitting hairs with those two. If you want to put Schmetzer there, that's fine as well. But yeah, what a great job. His record speaks for itself. The way he goes about his business in the classy way that he does. He's doing it without Jordan Morris. Rusnak was on the bench only for a penalty kick in that game, which I think is brilliant, right? He was thinking that far ahead. João Paulo out. Nuhu was suspended. Masovsky's leading goal scorer was suspended for the game. He's also missing Paul Arriola the entire season. There's nothing, Jimmy, that led to Brian Schmetzer and the Seattle Sounders should even be in this position, right? But as we know, he has Paul Rothrock on his team, right? Because he told us that. And I think one of the best promotions ever, and I wonder who's going to jump on it next, where you take your Messi jersey and you go trade it in for that, like that local star. In this case was Paul Rothrock, and it was 100 jerseys to start. I think they're still doing the promotion right now, where they've extended it. You can trade in your Messi jersey. They were dominant in the first half. Little bit lucky in the first 10 or 15 minutes of the second half, where Messi misses a goal, Suarez misses a goal, and then they took over the game again, right? Yeah, they took over Allende misses an opportunity. I mean, the Messi one is the one that kind of sticks out, right? But in the end, I think Inter Miami had one shot on target, if I'm not mistaken, in the end of that game. So credit to them, and they are the example of one way to do it in Major League Soccer that works. It's not always about, back to our conversation about putting the best team together. It's not always about having the shiniest toy in the garage, right? You just have to have a lot of really good parts, and that's what he's got right now. He's getting the most out of everybody.
Before I get your thoughts, Chuck, I just want to go through their Leagues Cup run. They were the only team in the group stages to win all three of their games. They beat Cruz Azul 7-0. That was ridiculous. De La Vega scored probably the goal of the tournament. It was unreal. Then they beat Santos Laguna 2-1. They beat Club Tijuana 2-1 in the match day 3. In the quarterfinals, they took on Puebla, had to go to penalties to win that one. That was their tightest affair. And then they beat LA Galaxy in the semifinal 2-0, and then took down Inter Miami 3-0 in the final. Now, they did score 2 goals late, and as Tone said, Inter Miami had some really good chances. The Sounders were on the ropes there for about 15, 20 minutes in the second half. Miami couldn't make those count, and then the Sounders went on and did what they were going to do. I just want to make sure we give them their flowers before we get into the very dramatic and controversial post-game celebration or lack thereof afterwards between the two teams. But yeah, where are you on the Sounders team? And do you think they're a team that could go on to win MLS Cup this season?
Yeah, well, one, I think they've proven just winning this final that they are capable of winning MLS Cup. There's a directness to their game that is very familiar with all the the old MLS, not so many players that are sitting on the ball dictating tempo and having that skill set, but they're very efficient and effective in transition, on the counter, on set pieces. Some of the things that kind of get lost in today's game. And so, I when I was watching Arsenal versus Liverpool this weekend, I thought to myself, how many passes does it take for Arsenal to realize that Liverpool are okay with you connecting all these passes in your own half? You're not threatening anybody. And so the a few occasions that Arsenal did play into the channels, you thought, okay, something came from it, but it was very far and few in between. So now to fast forward to this game against Inter Miami, the Seattle Sounders were so good at exposing Miami's weaknesses and getting down those channels and seeing the center backs have to go out, Busquets having to go out and defend. Busquets doesn't want to defend, and certainly Busquets doesn't want to have to go out to the touchline to defend. So I think when you're talking about Schmetzer and just how the Seattle Sounders team approached this game, class. It was so well done. Again, it's teamwork and a game plan on how to get at this Inter Miami side. So I'm really impressed. And I was going to pose this question to you, Tony. Dom Kinnear or Schmetzer? Who's higher in terms of, success in Major League Soccer for you?
Well, I think Brian Schmetzer, right? He's doing it in this day and age in the game. Like I think you guys, you personally, how I feel about Dom Kinnear. I think it's crazy that the man is not coaching a head coach of an MLS team right now and has been overlooked for a couple of jobs. But if you're just comparing those two guys, I give it to Brian Schmetzer. And by the way, I think Dom Kinnear, knowing him, he would give it to Brian Schmetzer too for what he's done. But I don't take anything away from Dom Kinnear. And I think you guys know that, right? Especially you, Jimmy. We've had this conversation a few times, right? But yeah,
sure.
Brian Schmetzer, what I like about him, I like him as a person. He's easy to talk to. His messages are really, really clear. Sometimes they're almost so clear that they feel archaic in a lot of ways, and I mean that in the most respectful type of way, where he doesn't complicate it, right? He doesn't need 22 magnets on the board and moving it around like a madman to explain his vision, right? Some people need that. He doesn't. He makes it really, really simple. And I think with the group that he has, he makes it simple for them in the way that he explains the game to make it easy for them so they're not thinking about crazy things all the time. Having said that, I do know that Precky's got a bigger role over the last couple of years. My old teammate, who I think is a footballing genius, when you talk to him, maybe his message comes across in a different way, but he knows the game inside and out, and he's been given sort of the responsibility of making sure that everybody's on the same page, and the message is getting relayed not only from Schmetzer but from somebody else and reinforced. So, there's so many good things happening there. I'm trying to think. You guys have been around, almost as long as I have in this league, but the league front
Only
and back.
Jimmy, not me.
Is there a better organization overall? When you talk about fans, you can make an argument that they don't have their own stadium, but if you're gonna in a night like this put 75,000 people in the stadium, you wouldn't have been able to fit that in a soccer-specific stadium anyway.
Yeah,
I don't
the
know,
Northwest, right? Portland and Seattle, but
they're
Seattle
incredible up there.
Trophy,
incredible.
So, I mean, the Sounders are kind of the benchmark, I'd say, right? Back in the day, it was DC, right? They were the squad. Bruce Arena and you're looking at Jaime Moreno and Echeverry and Harks, and you're like, okay, DC United. Then would you say it was Galaxy for a bit when they were winning, in that treble winning season, or the three-peat? Then I'd say Atlanta United when they came into the league. It was maybe Portland, Seattle. Then Atlanta United had their little hot moment, but I'd say Seattle Sounders are probably the clear, the clear front-running club that have it dialed in from supporters, city, activations, environment to the players and trophies. I think they did an incredible job.
I agree. I think they've had a nice balance too of signing Like you have a Nico Ladero, who I thought was an incredible signing, and now you go get a De La Vega, who's obviously starting to come good.
Martins and Clint.
Yeah, you got Clint, and then, but you're also filling in those gaps with your younger players. You're trusting your academy to produce as well. And
Christian Roldan has been as good as anybody in Major League Soccer all year. He was their best player at the Club World Cup. Okay, a different competition, but he has been outstanding, man. And what a leader he's become.
Yeah. Well, speaking of leadership or lack thereof, let's talk about Inter Miami's reaction to losing 3-0. So a few minutes after Paul Rothrock scored the final goal of the match, which really put the nail in the coffin at that point, and everybody knew it. We could argue that all hell broke loose. Luis Suarez, at some point throughout this fracas at the end, he might have hocked to it on a Seattle Sounders. Listen, for me, it just felt like if you're going to do it, do it. He kind of gave like a half spit, in my opinion. Center back Tomas Avila and Busquets threw punches at opposing players. That's all on camera. Maxi Falcone had right back Cody Barker in a chokehold, and emotions spilled over very quickly. I know there's a lot of talk about David Beckham waiting in the tunnel to congratulate the Sounders and being classy, and the Moss ownership doing the same, but I wonder how they feel about the actions of some of their top players in this moment instead of being very classy in defeat. So I guess really the big question, we can go a lot of different directions, and I know we're bringing this up at the end of the show. We could probably talk about it for 30 minutes. Big Tones, you've been around, you got a lot of experience, of course. This competition kind of falls outside the jurisdiction of CONCACAF, and it's not like a straight MLS competition. It's just a combination, a partnership between Liga MX and MLS. How do you ban someone? Like, do you suspend Suarez? There's a trickle into MLS. You know that they're not going to make it an MLS related. He'll have to miss the first 3 games of the Leagues Cup next year is probably what they're going to do, or something to that nature. What do you do here with this? And I guess from an Inter Miami perspective, and then from a disciplinary perspective.
Well, you gotta sanction, of course, Suarez. Disgusting in the end, but I can't say that I'm totally surprised by it. Falcone, Busquets, who threw the punch. What's his name? Wygant, who didn't even play in the game. And Falcone, who had, I think it was Obed Vargas in the headlock, which all started, this whole thing kind of started, I guess, off camera. They got to it really quickly with Obed Vargas and Luis Suarez. And then it escalated from there. And then Avilas, right? I hate the guy. Look, if you're going to fight, then go for it, right? I suppose. But the whole thing about the kid running around the outside when people have their back turned and throwing punches, like that guy, for me, he's got to go too. You're right, Jimmy. Who's going to sanction all of these? I can't imagine. If you're watching before the game, right before kickoff, they had the vision of David Beckham sitting with his wife, Victoria, and then the 2 Moss brothers were in the box, and everybody was dressed in these beautiful suits and all of this stuff representing Inter Miami. I can't imagine anybody in that box could be happy. And I was excited to read the fans' reaction from Inter Miami. Now, there was some scuffling at the game, but the majority of Inter Miami fans are disgusted with what happened after that game, and should be. The problem is, I feel like we're going to get caught in this middle where the league says, I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong, and I should be wrong. But I feel like we're going to get caught in, well, we don't run the tournament. And then over here, we don't run the tournament. And then CONCACAF says, well, we don't run the tournament, so we really can't do anything in the end. Because this is basically a made-up tournament, right? And you can see there's emotion and there's something tied to it. And there's CONCACAF Champions Champions Cup now on the line, but I don't want to get caught in the middle of nothing happens when people clearly should be, whatever action you took, and you should be punished for it. But I'm hoping that I'm wrong in this, Chuck. But I don't know. We're going to find out.
Yeah, the only thing I would say is, in terms of the Hawk Tua from Suarez, there's just,
what's he doing?
Spitting at this is the most disrespectful thing you can do. That should have the most severe punishment by far. There's literally no place for spitting on an opponent or someone in someone's face. Like that is just
some employee. It's an employee of the Sounders.
Yeah, that's the lowest
like
of the level.
Not that changes anything, but it's just kind of like, what are you doing? Losing his mind.
For me, he should be suspended for the season. with that act alone. But we know that's not going to happen. And then in terms of the Busquets, that wasn't a punch in my definition. It's definitely a hands to the face. It's somewhere in between a mush and like a slap. It was. But either way, you can't
pulling your arm back.
You can't put hands to the face. That's probably a 1 game suspension for me. It was one of those things where I don't want to punch you, but I don't want to let you get away with this. Like Obed Vargas, he loved it. He was reeling them in, working them up, obviously with all the trash talking he was doing there. But in the end, they took the bait. But all these guys have been around the game for far too long to let something like this get under their skin to the point where they're reacting this way, knowing that they're role models. They're supposed to be moving the game forward in our country.
Yeah, they're not thinking that though in that moment. They're thinking,
no. But
like, they should have this kid up. Who's this kid done anything? Look at us.
They should have the presence of mind at this stage, to not let it get under their skin. They got to a final. But yeah, it's just it's a sad showing, in terms of all these kids watching their role models and their idols and how they're reacting when things don't go their way.
A mush. I'm going to use that. I'm going to steal that word, mush.
This is a good one. Mush League Soccer from Matthew.
Mush League Soccer. All right. So last question before we let everybody go.
Hey, we didn't get your reaction on this. You didn't.
We got Matthew Pataccio's reaction to Mush League Soccer. We didn't get yours.
No, I agree with you. That Luis Suarez definitely disgusting, 100%. I don't know what he's doing, though. He has a history of losing his mind and biting people and all types of different stuff. So it's not really that much of a surprise. I agree with you. I don't think they're going to suspend him for the whole season, but there should be some type of sanction where that is a line that cannot be crossed. And then for everybody else that contributed to it, whether it's like everybody should be punished. If you let them free of this, then you set a very dangerous precedent about what can or can't happen. And then if you say that let's say Inter Miami kind of quote unquote gets away with this and doesn't get maybe the sanctions or punishment that they deserve given their actions after losing a final and acting like petulant kids, then the next time it happens, for whatever reason, then I could see them heavily punishing that one. And then it's going to feel unfair that the league once again, sided with Inter Miami or it looked that way or whatever it is. So these are really interesting moments for the commissioner, Don Garber, and others that run Leagues Cup about how they're going to manage this situation and where those sanctions are going to take place. Even if you go super hard and suspend him for the whole season, Luis Suarez, Chuck, you're going to get people pissed about that. If you go too easy, somebody's going to be pissed about something. So you have to go out there and take a hard line and back your decisions and just get on with it. From there, we'll see if that's what ends up happening.
What do you think a fair suspension is for spitting?
Oh,
what did Ache get? He spit it towards the ref, right? What did he get? Didn't he get 3 games?
3 games.
That's at the ref. This is direct in your face. There's
minimum 6 games. First, you started the whole thing.
6 to 8.
Yeah, 6 to 8 games, and I don't know. They must have 5 or 6 left.
Yeah, did. So didn't Obed Vargas? Did he not tackle Suarez right there at the end? And that kind of what
towards the end of the game, they were going at it a little bit towards the end of the game, but it was like footballing things. It's like things that happen. You watch every game. It's the same thing all the time.
Yeah, and to your point, Chuck, these guys have to know that the younger players are going to want to prove themselves. They're going to be running their mouths a little bit, and as hard as it is, they have to keep it as steady as possible. Even though they had their chances to win that game, it wasn't like they didn't have their chances to get that goal. And maybe if they made it 1-1, they would have to
play again, right?
I'm with Matt.
They play again in 2 weeks in Miami. I can't wait. 10 days in Miami.
I'm with Matt Christopher though. Suarez should be out until the playoffs. But the funny thing about that, the caveat is, it's not funny, but it'll actually benefit him, because he'll be fresh for the playoffs, right? So, but he should be suspended until the playoffs, in my mind.
If anybody was looking, and I've been saying this about MLS for years, the league needs villains. That's what is a great storyline. It gets everybody rooting against a particular team or particular players. It makes a difference and gets people to come to the stadium and want to, get excited and get emotional about what's happening, and that passion shows up and all that. I think we have it now. I think Inter Miami are the clear villains of MLS. And yes, they should be sanctioned, but secretly I don't mind. They've become kind of like the New York Yankees. of MLS. And I think you're a
Hey,
Yankees
Tony doesn't
supporter.
want to hear that. Hey, the Red Sox steaming on up. We've been
Listen.
swapping. We've been absolutely swapping them, spanking them out of the park against the
Mushing
Yankees.
Charlie's killing me
Mushing
these
them.
days, Jimmy. He
Red
is
Sox
killing
are
me these
mushing.
days.
Oh,
One
man.
of my son's best friends is playing there. Charlie went to see him yesterday, and when I see the kid, he always tells me, "Mr. Meola, you got to get over it, man." I'm like, "No, I can't. You're on the Red Sox, bro. I can't do it." But Charlie's killing me.
Yeah, the Sox are.
But I'll get
mushing
you.
the Yankees.
Don't
Let's
worry.
go.
Don't worry,
Mushing
Charlie.
They're mushing
Don't
them all
worry.
over the place. All right, that's it. We're calling it a show. Mush it. What you want is done for today. Come back and join us on Thursday here live on the Glosso America YouTube channel, kicking off at 10 a.m. Eastern. We'll have a big preview for our first game of this window against South Korea. Should be a lot of fun, and we appreciate Jack McGlynn for coming on.
Roman
Nice job
Anthony.
as always.
Yeah.
Nice job,
You know,
everybody that's
Roman Anthony,
commenting.
let's
Chuck,
go.
Big Tones, Dez, Ivis, Brad. Appreciate all of you guys, everybody behind the scenes, helping us make us look better than we deserve to be. And that's it. I'm calling it. It's done. Mush it what you want. We'll see you on Thursday. Later.
Let's go.